Hello and welcome back to another episode of Just a Moment. Last time we spoke about basic needs, but today we're going to be talking about employment and career opportunities with UWBA's Vice President of Economic Success, Nicole Harden, and Vice President of Development, who is also on the Board of Education for San Rafael City Schools, Carolina Martin. Let's jump in. Ladies, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
To start, I wonder if we could explain what we mean when we say employment and career opportunities, because we say both. Is there a difference between the two? Nicole, let's start with you.
Yeah, I would say there's a difference between employment and career opportunities. When we are saying employment opportunities, we're really talking about those first jobs or jobs that are meeting the immediate needs. And both are necessary when looking at like how we're going to end poverty. But career level opportunities are opportunities that lead to high wage, high growth industries or are in high wage, high growth industries. So there's an opportunity for us to work with our young people or adults that are meeting their basic needs through our employment opportunities, but they're also able to access career level employment. In the Bay Area, the real cost measure says that we need about $140,000 for a family of four to meet their basic needs.
In 1963, the economist Molly Orshansky released a report titled Poverty as It Affects Children, which helped to develop the way the nation calculates poverty and which we still use today. Orshansky's poverty level calculation worked in the 60s, but it assumes that the most costly purchase for a family is food. And in today's environment, that doesn't reflect the true cost of supporting a family. Today, food is only 1/7 of the average of a family's expenses, while the cost of housing, childcare, healthcare, and even transportation have grown disproportionately. By contrast, the real cost measure does factor the cost of necessities like housing, food, healthcare, childcare, transportation, and other basic needs to reveal what it really costs to live here in the state of California. And it accounts for the variation of costs to live in each county and region. So, for example, in the Bay Area, it costs a family of four, meaning 2 working adults and 1 school-aged teenager plus a toddler, well over $119,000 to meet basic needs. This number can range from $91,000 to $146,000 at its max. Again, just to meet the very basic needs.
And our first jobs or our employment opportunities aren't going to get us there. So in order for us to get to that point, we're looking at our career wage or our career level opportunities, but we also do the employment opportunities through our programming. Our Youth Opportunity Pathway program provides those first job opportunities, connecting young people to access to those first jobs that can meet their immediate needs. But we're also working with our Spark Point programs to help do longer term investments into their education and career pathways that can lead to those high wage, high growth industries.
And I think, what United Way Bay Area is trying to do is really expose our youth to what the difference is between an immediate job, which could be, working at a coffee shop or a restaurant or a store, and then thinking about what, a long-term career looks like. And you can still be in the coffee shop, but maybe you're the owner of the coffee shop and you're running the coffee shop. And so I think our youth just needs to be exposed to what is the difference between an immediate job that is essential and what your career could look like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel like, when we're talking about poverty in relation to employment, one of the things that comes up is the idea that if you have a job, you should be able to get out of poverty. But, one, are there barriers to accessing employment, or does poverty, how does poverty impact being able to get a job or being able to get into, those high growth, high wage career opportunities that we were talking about earlier?
Yeah. I think there's a few barriers in place that prevent people from being able to access those types of opportunities. In addition to institutional racism, there's our housing crisis, there's transportation issues, there's childcare issues, and a host of other things that folks that are living in poverty are dealing with in order to be able to even take the step to access education, or the next pathways to be able to lead to those types of employment opportunities. An example of that is we have a client who's working with our Sparkman centers, but he lives in one part of the region. He lived in Vallejo, and his job was in Fairfield. So how do you access? There's no transportation system. He's supposed to be at work at 5 o'clock in the morning. How do you access that kind of opportunity where you're making $50,000 a year to be able to pay your rent? So it's not a high wage, high growth, but it's a job. It meets his needs. And he didn't have a car. He was trying to get to work at 5 a.m. in the morning, and he was accessing or using rideshare opportunities and paying $50 to $70 a day or each way to get to access his employment. And you can't use that. There's no way to get out of poverty, to dig your way out, if you're consistently having to shell out money to be able to meet your basic needs, just so that you can have a job.
And I think it's walking youth or individuals through that journey of, if the job is here or my career is here, how do I plan for that budget? Transportation, I need to feed myself, I need to show up on time. And it's walking them through, where am I in that journey, and is it enough? And also, when there is no transportation, like, you still have to get there on time, and that's really impacting you. And that's kind of what we try and do at United Way Bay Area, is talk to our youth about what does that pathway, that budget, that concept look like? Because I'm so excited to have that job or that possible career, but is that the one that's going to help me get out of poverty?
So tell me, what does a person need in order to be able to access those quality jobs, quality career opportunities? And are those needs different across the region? Nicole?
Yeah. So I think folks need a few different things. The way that we work through our youth opportunity pathway programming is through building connection for folks. You need social capital. You need folks that can help guide or mentor you as you're going through your career journey. None of us do this by ourselves. We need folks that can walk with us in this journey. So there's an opportunity to make connections through different kinds of programming and through our youth opportunity pathway programming. Other things that folks need is access to education and access to all of the other basic needs that we talked about earlier. And then across the region, there are different kinds of industries and needs that are needed within those different 8 Bay Area counties that we serve. In our southern Santa Clara and our northern regions, it might be an agriculture industry that we need more education, more job seekers that are looking for types of employment within those industries, or hospitality. We cover the Bay Area, the Silicon Valley, so we have tech industries that we're trying to get folks into, and biosciences. And so there's a lot of different kinds of opportunities. And when we're thinking about education, we should acknowledge that folks, that there is still some bias for folks that are trying to access those kinds of opportunities, whether they're accessing a 4-year opportunity versus a 2-year opportunity or a trade program.
Yes, and I think that's one thing that, as we look at the trajectory of our future, right, is really educating our youth about career technical training or trade jobs. People don't realize that you could be building towers in San Francisco, and that's a trade job, right? And so how do we also educate our youth that those are successful career opportunities? And so, yes, and acknowledging that if there is a bias, really showcase, like, what do you have to offer as well? Yeah.
So it's not like we're saying that there are job opportunities out there. There are career opportunities out there. They may vary across the region. And we also know that there are barriers that we're trying to account for, particularly, Nicole, you mentioned with transportation. So, Caroline, I wonder, what does this look like from the corporate side? What does this look like from the perspective of companies that are looking to hire, prospective applicants? What experiences are you seeing on that end?
Jason, that's one of my favorite questions. So we, and Nicole, you know this very well, is we had a great opportunity with one of our corporate partners where there was a confusion as to why certain regions, maybe the North Bay, weren't taking the opportunity to take an internship in the city. And that seems quite easy, right? We think of the ferry, we think of ways to get into San Francisco. And I had to really map it out for our corporate partner that even though that internship opportunity looks really exciting, could be marketing, it could be, sales, it could be, anything. But I had to really walk that partner through the fact that this individual would have to roughly pay $30 out of their own pocket just to get and to show up on time. That's not including, do they have the right outfit? Do they have the right food? Do they have the right support system? So I get to have those conversations of transparency of let me walk you through what success looks like for our youth and how are we going to show up. Mm-hmm. And I think what's great is a lot of our corporate partners and our foundation partners want to show up in the right way. So do we need a transportation benefit? So that is what I get to do and really walk them through the barriers in order to access those careers, those internships. So yeah, that's what we have to educate, have transparent conversations, and really show that mobilizing our youth is not as easy as it seems.
Following up on that, Carolina, what is United Way Bay Area? What are we doing to try and bridge that gap? You both have mentioned Spark Point, Youth Opportunity Pathways. What are those individual programs doing to help?
Yeah. So in our youth opportunity pathways, we're providing career exploration opportunities. We run internship programs. We connect and build relationships with local community partners, providing those wraparound supportive services that are helping them to be able to access the different kinds of opportunities. And as Carolina mentioned earlier, there's not as many opportunities out in the regions in Solano and Napa and our southern Santa Clara County region. So what we'll do is subsidize some of the internship opportunities for young people to be able to access and be able to actually get employment. Through our Spark Point programs, where we have Spark Points programming in over 20 locations across the 8 Bay Area counties, we're providing one-to-one career coaching. We're helping folks with their resumes. We're providing, and their cover letters, providing practice interviews and connecting them to local employers in the region that can help them access those different kinds of opportunities. At our Spark Point centers and community college locations, and our soon to be first four-year institution, we're providing the Spark Point services in addition to their general education, and helping folks access different kinds of counseling appointments and helping people to kind of get an idea of the kinds of opportunities that they want to get into. So there's a little bit of the education and their career coaching that's happening in our post-secondary and institutional sites.
And I wanted to say that this doesn't happen just by us doing the work, right? We have to have our corporate partners showing up at our youth opportunity programs. We just had a event and it was on track, and roughly over 30 corporate companies came, and they were engaging with the youth and talking about their journey and their career and really exposing them. Back to my first point, is it's about exposure. What does that look like? And I think that also helping run these programs by supporting these programs and continually investing and showing up and saying, hey, we talked about social capital, let me help you, and I'm here to guide you through the way. So I think corporate partners, foundations are showing up and supporting our Spark Point partnerships and other youth workforce programs. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, to that point, Carolina, what can other corporate partners do, and maybe even corporations who aren't presently partnering with us, but maybe they want to, what can they do to get involved?
I think a couple of things. First of all, when I think companies or corporate partners are thinking about internships, is just reimagine what biases they have of what that internship individual can look like. They look very different, right? We're in a different time. We've had COVID. And so reimagining what their staple approach might be and be adaptive. Number two, call us. Let us know when their internship programs open and begin. And know that we have over 20 Spark Point sites that we can talk to our individual youth. And I think the other thing is funding and supporting internships, our youth workforce pathways, our Spark Point centers, and just being in touch and being mindful that they can really help us be leveraging the social capital they have for youth that, really need that guidance.
Yeah.
I might just add that we also appreciate the volunteerism from our corporate partners that provide those
Great
mentorship
point. Yes.
opportunities. They show up at our on-track event. They go out to our sites and help do the practice interviews with our community members so that they're able to practice with people that they don't know. So
Yes.
so it feels like a real interview. We really appreciate the opportunity to have volunteer.
And I was just remembering, Nicole, we just had a volunteer work with our Spark Point Center ambassadors and our youth on their LinkedIn profiles. And I think that sounds so easy, but it seems so daunting to our youth. And that's a perfect opportunity, just like, oh, I want to volunteer. And it could look very differently, but it's so impactful.
Yeah, good points. And if I'm understanding you right, what you're saying is there are still trade opportunities even within the tech industry.
Yes.
100%.
Ladies, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. For more information about our programs, you can find us online, www.uwba.org, or follow us on social media at UWBA Area. Make sure you use the hashtag #TheWorkUWBA. We'll see you next time.